Bunny Spooks. Tonight's story, some lovers go on an adventure to find joy and celebration. But will they survive their trek through the woods? There's only one way to find out, by listening to tonight's story, which is The Slow Crawl by Thomas Duder. Prepare to be spooked. It began slowly, softly, like silk across the skin. A mere whisper of sensation, but one that was indelibly there. Mike Arrington had lived for 26 years, a mere stripling compared to the greats, the masters he looked up to. Having earned his doctorate's degree from a prestigious school, he had been given leave by his parents to take the family cabin in order to celebrate. There would be other members of the family stopping by to bring gifts and well wishes, eventually filling up the old cabin with light and music to last the whole night through. Mike had never questioned this, save that it was something their family just did. Birthdays, grand events, and accomplishments, all were celebrated at the cabin. Getting to the cabin, though, took a trip out to the mountains, a road trip that lasted all day. For another night and day, one would then trek through the woods before coming across the cabin, subsisting only on what they could forage in the forest. Though one could transport food and drink, one could never ever taste any of it till they made it through the door of the large two-story cabin. So it was that Mike brought his two lovers, wanting them both to share in this ritual. Awakening early and packing up, Mike, Farah, and George took off in his beat-up and functional but dependable Beetle. At first, Farah complained about how strange the day seemed, only to succumb to a few kisses from George. Clever, intelligent George and witty, strong Farah. Mike felt both were worthy of himself and he them. So it was that he heard them and thought deeply each time they noted something strange on the road. Pockets of time that should not have been, old history suddenly brought forth to the present. Though he heard them, he had long since grown used to such sights, explaining it simply as parts of old America who never caught up with the big cities. Mike continued his trek, heedless of other points of strangeness his lovers noted. So it was that he stopped on a desolate stretch of highway, parking his car and instructing them on what to expect. Throughout the mad night, Mike ignored the cries of the dead and monstrous otherworldly beings. From all about them they came, twisted abominations who reached out for aid and succor, for menace and threat. It was sweet George who fell to their hunger, his flashlight showing the carnage left behind as they swarmed over him, tearing him to bloody giblets. Dragging Farah, crying and wailing through the night, Mike called for a break in the morning at the river of sweet water. Farah, blinking her olive-colored eyes, realized that there had been no natural transition between day and night. They had simply been stomping throughout the insane woods through the night when suddenly it was daylight and they were in front of the river. Calming herself down, she gulped down handfuls of the sweet water, noting that Mike dared not. Sitting down, his face in his hands, Mike explained, "I'm too tired, just not thirsty. I've lasted longer than this, though." "Why did they come for him?" Farah questioned, her voice beginning to find stability as she strengthened herself. Mentally, she was as tough as she was beautiful, and the glare in her eyes mirrored balled-up fists. She blamed Mike for George's death. Mike didn't blame her for that. He sipped from a canteen he had hidden, Mike sighed. That fucking habit of his. I always told him it was whiskey that was gonna kill him, just not like this. Never thought it'd be like this. Accepting his reasoning, Farah held him close and patted him for a moment. "If you aren't going to drink, then let's get something to eat then. The forest will provide, right?" "Right." So it was that they spent a couple of hours foraging, using the river as the base of operations, eating their fill of consumable mushrooms and sweet nuts. Mike immediately ordered them that it was time to go, unable to stop Farah from witnessing how the river began to swarm with leeches and man-shaped things oozing black venom as they began to shamble out of the river towards them. The coming of evening smashed into them without fanfare or transition. One moment they were running through the forest at the height of daylight, and the next moment they found themselves in pitch black darkness. The cabin lay before them, a ramshackle affair of crossed logs and leathery tongs. 2 stories high, the windows all lay open to the forest, the door wide open, revealing the comfortable interior, the entire affair already lit up by candlelight and a roaring fire. "We're the first here," Farah noted, glad they had survived the strange ordeal. Taking Farah's hand, Mike led her into the cabin, the strange sensation of being watched growing within her as they crossed the threshold. Mike, smiling at Farah, drew close and sighed. "We made it! We made it! Now we can eat." Farah's eyes widened as the cabin closed in on them both, doors and windows shutting tight of their own accord, cutting them off from the woods with an ominous sound of a tomb closing. Now we can eat. Wow, that one was kind of spooky. You know, I think that Farah lady is like the lady in horror films who like acts all badass but then does something really stupid to get other important characters killed earlier in the film than they should. That's her kind of character. And also, a hungry house. Wow! I don't want to get eaten by a cabin in the woods. Have you ever been eaten by a cabin in the woods? If you have, leave it in the comments below. I've been reading too many spooky, scary stories, so, you know, if you have a story you'd like to share, you can send it to bunnyspooks@gmail.com. Spooky soon.